Hello guys, welcome to RideWP the Rideshare channel. My name is Serge. I'm taking a little break from Uber, but you know what got me thinking is what if we ask ChatGPT what is the difference between 1099 employee and W2 employee? And I know some of you guys that are 1099, you know you're not an employee. You're basically an independent contractor. You're in business for yourself, which means nobody can tell you when to work, how to work. You have to have your own equipment, tools. You decide how to work, when to work, how to talk to your customers, right? But the reason I worded it this way is because this is a rideshare channel. Obviously, Uber and Lyft thinks we're 1099 employees, and they have like so much agreements and stuff that you have to agree to, right? And certain ways your car has to look, right? What kind of car that you have, how old is your car, um, how you should talk to your clients, what advertisements or other stuff that they want you to have in a car, even like what color car that you want, that is manipulated for you. Now, when you're wondering like what I mean by what color, well, you can't have a car with like a yellow cab, like with livery for like taxi cab, of course, up until recently, when in New York, taxi cabs can now be requested through Uber, which is completely weird. But anyways, that's another story. So let's see what ChatGPT says, and we're gonna play around with this a little bit. In getting to the bottom of this, what does this really mean to be a 1099 and a W2? So let's see what it says. A 1099 employee and a W2 employee are not the same and have distinct differences. Number one, employment status. W2 employee, this is a traditional employee employer relationship. W2 employees are considered employees of a company, and the employer withholds income taxes, Social Security, and Medicare taxes from their paychecks. Employees also provide benefits like health insurance, paid time off, and retirement contributions. 1099 employee, independent contractor. See, independent contractor. 1099 employees are often independent contractors or freelancers. They are not employees, but rather self-employed individuals or businesses providing services to another entity. They receive payments without tax deductions, and they're responsible for reporting their income and paying their own taxes, including self-employment tax. They do not typically receive benefits from the hiring entity. Taxation. W2 employees' taxes are withheld by the employer, and W2 employees receive a W2 form at the end of the year summarizing their earnings and deductions. 1099 employee, independent contractor. Taxes are not withheld, and 1099 employees receive a Form 1099 NEC, formerly 1099 MISC, from hiring entity showing the payments received. They are responsible for paying their own income taxes quarterly. By the way, that's quarterly if you're an S corporation. So LLCs, you don't have to do quarterly. W2 employers have more control over W2 employees, including work hours, tasks, and benefits such as health insurance, retirement plans, and paid leave. 1099 employee, independent contractor, independent contractors have more autonomy in how they perform their work. They are generally not entitled to employee benefits and have more control over their work schedule and methods. Emphasized methods. Legal protections. W 2 employee. W 2 employees typically have access to various legal protections and benefits, including minimum wage, overtime pay, workers' compensation, and unemployment benefits. 1099 employee, independent contractor. Independent contractors do not receive these legal protections and must negotiate contractual terms and protections independently, which is missing, guys, from our part of the deal as contractors. So we are independent contractors when it comes to us working for Uber or Lyft. So they just provided their own contracts that benefits them, because the person that's providing the contract, usually that is the party that gets the most benefits. And we don't have nothing signed by them for our, basically, how should I say, like, whatever you want to get out of the deal. So it's kind of like it's a one-sided deal. So they technically want a W-2 employee, but they don't want to pay none of the benefits that come with being a W-2 employee, or pay you unemployment if you end up getting deactivated, or some other ways, the company decides to, I guess, fire you, right? So this is why these companies like Uber and Lyft, they just willy-nilly deactivate people's accounts because there's no repercussions for them. But anyways, let's continue. It's important for both employers and workers to correctly classify their working relationship, as misclassification can lead to legal and tax issues. The distinction between W-2 and 1099 employees is significant in terms of tax responsibilities, benefits, and legal rights. So I guess let's see what 1099 contractor, let's just say how to become. Let's see. How to become a 1099. Oh my gosh. 1099. Okay, let's see what it says. I just want this to be able to provide steps in order to become a 1099, like getting your license, and then also like everything that has to do with being 1099. So let's see. To become a 1099 contractor, also known as an independent contractor or freelancer, you can follow these general steps. Identify your skills and services. Determine what skills or services you can offer as an independent contractor. Consider your expertise, and what services you can provide to potential clients or companies. Create a business entity, which is optional. You can choose to operate as sole proprietor, but some contractors opt to establish a formal business entity such as an LLC, which is a limited liability company, or a corporation for liability protection and tax advantages. Consult with a legal tax professional to decide the best structure for your situation. Register your business if applicable, depending on your local and business structure. You may need to register your business with the appropriate government authorities and obtain any necessary licenses or permits. Set up a business bank account. Open a separate bank account for your business finances to keep them separate from your personal finances. This makes it easier to manage income and expenses. Obtain an employee identification number, which is an EIN number. This is something you do from the IRS website, by the way, guys, in case you don't know. If you're not operating as a sole proprietor and have established a formal business entity, you may need to obtain an EIN from IRS. This number is used for tax reporting purposes. Develop a business plan. Create a business plan outlining goals, target clients, pricing structure, and marketing strategy. A well thought out plan can help you stay organized and focused on business objectives. Set your rates and payment terms. Determine your pricing structure and payment terms for your services. Consider market rates, your expenses, and your desired income when setting prices. Now, I really like that it does provide this information. This is something that we're missing when working for Uber or Lyft. We are not able to set our prices. So, look, set your own rates and payment terms. Determine your pricing structure and payment terms for your services. Consider market rates, your expenses, and your desired income when setting prices. In a recent video I put out, and I was showing you guys how Uber is offering me prices that ultimately would not even have me break even when taking into account my expenses and depreciation, and which is determined by the standard mileage rate deduction, which is 65.5 cents for 2023. So when I calculate the actual expenses according to my mileage standard deduction, which is what I use on my taxes, I could clearly see that I actually would make more money than the actual ride. Well, actually would need to make more money than the actual Uber ride offer, which is the same for Lyft. They're not offering enough money just to break even. So ultimately, I need to basically decide, well, how much money do I need to make for my business? Because you need to figure out your expenses and how much money you need to make. And a lot of you guys think that, well, just get a used car like you've been doing and just do it that way. That is so much cheaper. While that's true, you also need to know how to work on those used cars. If you don't, you're going to be always at shops, and the cost of maintenance and breakdowns, they vary a lot depending on the type of car you have. So let's say, like, for instance, I like to drive BMWs, Range Rovers, things of that nature. The service on those vehicles is very expensive. I would even say like ungodly expenses, considering the fact how much money we're actually getting paid. So when I would use a standard mileage rate deduction, let's say like I didn't have any breakdowns this year, right? Then yeah, I would be winning. But if I had breakdowns, I would also have time lost because the vehicle would be at a shop. I would not be making any income while the expenses are still rolling in. And again, expenses are different for everybody. Some people have a very expensive car payment, or they'll have like a very expensive apartment, or maybe like a high interest loan for their home if they're buying a home like these days. And the cost of living just goes up and down. But at this point in time, in 2023, everything is expensive. I'd say like from a year and a half ago, like everything's double or triple in price, including fuel, service, like new and used vehicles, your rent, like mortgage, especially like interest rate, like being 7.5% for homes. Could be even worse if you have a bad credit history, but that's about the type of loan that you would get. But anyways, things are really out of hand. They're very expensive, and I'd say if we're going in this direction, by next year, it's not going to be 65.5 cents standard mileage uh, deduction. It's going to be way more. Maybe it's going to be 70 cents. So we're going to need to start getting paid more. Um, and with all this being said, guys, Uber and Lyft, they all have been playing games and doing all kinds of gimmicks and just doing a lot of dishonest type of things and being very manipulative when it comes to their quests and the ride requests. And they'll basically get you stuck and working for longer hours just to make enough money to meet your ends. But anyways, let's continue with this. So market your services, build professional online presence, including a website and social media profiles to showcase your services, network with potential clients and other professionals in your industry. Consider using freelance platforms like Upwork or Fiverr to find initial clients. So when it comes to doing Uber or Lyft, if you still would like to continue this type of work, it is best to just use Uber or Lyft to find personal clients and personal rides through them, because you get to choose how to talk to your clients. See, Uber thinks it's their clients. You can't talk to them, but you can. You're a contractor. That is technically your client. You're just providing a service, kind of like Uber, I guess, like the middleman. But like that is your client. You're serving them. Like Uber is not serving them. They just provided an app and they just connected the two. So I don't understand how somebody that connects you with somebody else has a say in what you do with that client. It's like, let me make an example. Let's say, there's some kind of agency, right, that finds you a bride, right, or a groom to get married. So they connected you together, and you probably have to pay them some kind of service fee for that. But then they dictate the relationship. They tell you everything that you can or cannot say to your bride or groom, and they tell you what kind of house to buy, what kind of car to drive, what to do and what not to do. I think this is essentially what is happening with us. Maybe it's not a good explanation. Maybe somebody could explain a better one in the comments below, because I don't have time to really be making up a lot of this type of theories. But essentially, we are just being connected with a rider through the app, and we as a driver are blinded. We do not even know what the customer is paying. Like how? Like, we are providing a service. We need to decide how much money we get paid. Now that portion is hidden from us. Like Uber should just basically charge like a service fee, like a standard service fee, like maybe like a percentage of a fare that would need to go to Uber, which or Lyft, which needs to be, you know, told to us up front. Like, we will take, let's say, like 5% from each ride, or 10%, like, like in trucking companies, when somebody gives a load, the standard is 5%. At least it used to be. Maybe somebody works with a higher one. So if you're loading trucks, you're like a dispatcher. See, I've been in this type of industry for like 14 years. So the company that bids all the loads for the trucks, they get a fee of 5% normally. Now, a lot of times they lie to the driver as well, and they'll have other companies that they have opened up, and they'll sell that load from one company to another to manipulate the price. But that is a different story because that does happen. But usually, the correct way, they would say, well, this load is paying $2,000. We're going to charge you 5% from that $2,000. So this is going to be like $100 that they make, I think, if my math is correct on this. So that is understandable. Then a trucker provides that service. He decides whether or not to take that load if it's paying enough money. But what's really happening is Uber and Lyft has doubled their pricing since 2018, and basically they doubled the price to the rider, but did not double the income to the driver. While the cost of living from 2018 to 2023 is so much greater now. It's probably like 3 times greater, I would say, since 2018. And that is not taken into account. And like we're almost kind of like begging like employees, like, please get us a raise, get us a higher pay, when really in reality, like whatever Uber charges for that ride, they should be upfront with that price. It's like, hey, we're charging this customer $20. This is what our fee is going to be, like 5% is going to need to come out of that to cover their expenses. So take it or leave it, like in that price, kind of like that's the going rate. But why not let the driver decide what kind of rate he should receive per ride? And if he's not going to be as busy or she's not going to be as busy, well, so be it. That is the cost of doing business. You need to set your own rates, to be fair. And those that will set their rates very low, maybe the cost of doing business for them is a lot lower, or maybe they just got a brand new car and they don't know what the heck they're doing. They're just looking at their monthly payment and not even thinking about oil changes or any kind of maintenance or the kind of miles that they're putting on. And a year from now, they're going to have 150,000 miles and nothing to show for, because they're not going to be able to fix that car, service the car. There's going to be no more warranty. There's still going to be a payment, especially if they chose 72-month term. They'll still have like 60 months left over, and they're going to be out of the business. And it's kind of like, okay, boo-hoo. Well, you made bad decisions. You are now out of the business because you did not think about how much money you should be making, which would then leave more money for those people that are doing it correctly. But anyways, guys, tell me like what you think about this. Am I correct on this? Am I not correct? Do you think Uber's paying a fair wage? Please write in the comments below. Okay, let's continue. And part of us actually, why I'm going over this type of stuff and giving you guys my input is because I do think it's important. Like, we need to think like independent contractors, like the 1099 that we are, because we are not employees. We do not have any employee benefits. Like, we don't have like no 401k plan, no retirement plan. Otherwise, it would have been like nice if they 100% match your 401k contributions, and you would have at least some kind of like health benefits, dental benefits. We don't have none of that. That means all of these things, if you want to have them, you would need to pay for them out, like out of your pocket, on top of everything else. So with all these prices that they're paying, not only that you're not making enough to cover your expenses, now your health is not even being covered. And on top of that, your cost of living and everything else, because you already know it's expensive right now. So anyways, negotiate contracts, which is missing. We need to negotiate them. When you secure a client, it's crucial to have a written contract in place outlining the scope of work, payments, terms, deadlines, and other important details. Consult a legal professional if needed to ensure your contracts are legally sound. I mean, this makes sense. This is how a contractor should work, because it is crucial to have a written contract. Like, we should have a contract with Uber and saying, Uber, we need to make, let's say, like $1.15 per mile as an example. In order to basically, out of that, you would need to deduct, let's say, like 65.5 cents, which is what, like you have like 35 cents left over, $1.15, about 50 cents left, or so about like, 45, 49.5 cents like left over, right? I don't know if I'm doing the math correctly. I mean, it's like 1:42 in the morning, but ultimately, you would need to make 50 cents more per mile than what is the actual standard mileage deduction, just so that you could actually make a living wage, because all that stuff just covered your cost of doing business. That does not take in consideration that you have a house payment or rent or you have health insurance. Don't make that mistake. That's just the cost of doing business. That's only things that has to do with your car and car expenses, depreciation, that kind of things. The maintenance, the breakdowns, like vehicle registration, vehicle taxes, vehicle insurance. And moving on, when it comes to insurance, now, if you do decide to take this a notch higher and become a limo company or taxi company, and you get your documents in order, that costs you money, and you'll have to have additional licenses and things that you're going to have to get with your city or state. And in addition, you're going to need to have like a commercial insurance. Well, technically, you should be having commercial insurance now. But obviously, Uber does not require you to have commercial insurance now, because if you do have commercial insurance, you could have your own thing going. But if you don't have it, the problem is, if you have a lot to lose, you have a lot to lose, because anything can happen. And Uber insurance, they don't cover nothing. I mean, if you become crippled from the work, it's like, good luck. You don't have nothing. Absolutely nothing. I think they cover up to $30,000 now. That's it. That is the top amount that they will cover in case of an emergency, something that you did not even cause. There's a man, I think, out of Charlotte that was recently covered by rideshare professor. Maybe you watched that video, maybe not, but he's in a hospital, basically paralyzed, I think, from like waist down, because somebody, while he was working, somebody ran into him and basically totaled his car and totaled his body, basically. And Uber, their commercial policy only covered $30,000. Maybe it was 35,000, but that's it. Like, that is it. So that means not only that is not being covered to us by Uber yet. I think partly they're claiming that they're taking out so much money from each trip is because the insurance rates are so high for them, right? Which kind of like doesn't make sense, because obviously they're skimping out on very good insurance, because $35,000, it's not enough. I mean, what's going to happen if you have passengers in the car, and they end up getting seriously hurt? Because once Uber cannot cover them more than $30,000, maybe it goes for like each person, then who do you think they're going to, the customer that's in your car, who do you think they're going to sue? Well, they're going to try to sue Uber. They're going to say, well, insurance, 30,000, that's it. Maybe there's more for passengers. I don't know. If you guys know that, let me know. But they're going to sue you as a driver. So if you don't have a commercial policy, then you're pretty much out of luck. That could be the end of your Uber or Lyft type of business. That's why it is best to have a commercial policy. But commercial insurance policies are very expensive. And if you're going to get one, then might as well then become your own type of company, where you're taking on work outside Uber or Lyft, which would be your private clients. In that case, you could set your own rates and you could decide what you need to get paid. But anyways, more on that later. So, track income and expenses. Keep accurate records of your income and business expenses. This is essential for tax purposes and financial management. So, something I just now thought of when I was an independent contractor. See, the company that I was working for, they were not required to hold more than, I think, like 500,000 liability and commercial coverage. But they made me get 1 million liability and $100,000 cargo insurance. They made me get that so that I could actually work for them. So I'm not a stranger when it comes to commercial insurance because I did that for 14 years. And see, what I've thought of right now is if Uber would require drivers to get their own commercial insurance, this would ultimately probably slash the amount of drivers that they have, probably by half, because commercial insurance is very expensive. What that would mean for Uber pricing, it would probably increase because for the rides. So it means also, I think it would also mean that if you do have it, they would have to pay you more money because commercial insurance is expensive. Whether or not they would pay you money is another thing because obviously we don't even have a contract with like Uber that's our independent contract with Uber or Lyft, so they could pay us a certain amount, so it makes sense for us. But I could tell you that like if everybody was required to get commercial insurance, then you should be getting paid a lot more money because there's going to be a lot less drivers. There's going to be a lot more need for drivers from riders, and riders would have no choice but to pay more money. But the thing is, they are paying more money right now. It's just we're not seeing that money, and that's kind of like the catch-22 that's there. But also, that means once you have your commercial insurance, you could just get your taxi license or whatever and open up your own website and create your own clients and get your own business cards. And there's a lot of other things that you could do. You could promote yourself on social media and such so that you could actually continue and being profitable. But anyways, let's continue. Pay essential taxes. Pay estimated taxes. Oh my gosh. Since taxes are not withheld from your income as 1099 contractor, you must pay estimated taxes quarterly to cover income tax and self-employment tax obligations. Now, guys, let me ask you something. How many of you in here putting aside 30% of your income? And I know 30% might sound a little high, right? But technically, my next question is, do you have an emergency fund? If you don't have an emergency fund, then you should be placing at least 15% out of your income there and 15%, for your taxes aside. Well, probably more than 15. Well, what I meant to say is like you need to put like 15% for your retirement. But when it comes to taxes, you should be putting an additional 30%. You need to save that money. So this would mean you need to put about 60% of your income, like just 30% for taxes, 15 for like retirement, and 15 for all the other stuff, kind of like that we're gonna talk about. Most likely, most of you guys are just not doing that. And that's really bad. That means you're not going to have any retirement. You're not going to have an emergency fund to fix your vehicle and pay your expenses in case you lose a job. And why don't you have that? And I could tell you why. You're not getting paid enough. That's why. If you would have been getting paid enough from Uber or Lyft, all of you guys would do that. You would put some money away from yourself. So when you put 15% for your retirement, you need to take into account how much is your monthly expense, right? For everything, write everything down and times it by 6 months. Let's say it's $10,000 that you would need, which would be like on a low end. 10,000 is an emergency fund that can last you for 6 months to pay all your bills. I'm sure it's a bigger number than that, but I'm just saying, if you keep putting 15% and you reach that number, that goal of 10,000, then you need to take that 15% and add it to your other 15% that you've been setting for retirement. So basically 30% for yourself, 30% for the taxes. So that's why it's also very important to do your taxes correctly and make sure you write off everything. And while there's many ways of doing that, if you drive a lot, like and you're putting lots of miles and you're using that same vehicle or whatever, usually it's best to just write off all the mileage. At least that's what I do. But you would want to talk to your CPA about that and see what works best for you, because it could be different depending on each car that you buy. I mean, if you buy a car that's like 6,000 pounds, right? Like that type of weight, like an SUV that weighs a lot, you could actually write the whole thing off, like the whole vehicle purchase. So maybe that's going to be best. And on top of that, maybe some other stuff. But there's, always ways of writing things off on your taxes. That way, that other 30% you've been paying off, like setting apart, like for your taxes, you could keep as much of that as possible for yourself at the end of the year. Then you could either add it to your emergency fund or use it for yourself to upgrade your vehicle or whatever. But anyways, since taxes are not withheld, okay, so we did that. All right. Consider insurance. Depending on your type of work, you may want to consider liability insurance or professional um, indemnity insurance to protect yourself from potential legal and financial liabilities. Seek professional advice, consult an accountant or tax professional to ensure you comply with tax regulations and make informed financial decisions. Becoming a 1099 contractor offers flexibility and independence, but it also comes with financial responsibilities and the need to manage your own business effectively. It's important to do thoroughly research and planning before embarking on this career path. Yes, that's very important. And like a lot of people, I think that never did like a driving job before or like was a contractor before, they look at some of the rates that we're getting, maybe like for Uber or Lyft and all these bonuses, and it sucks them in. They're thinking like, wow, there's like so much money in this, right? But nobody's really planning how to run their own business. They're just thinking about it like a paycheck that they would get from a company. But this is not just a regular paycheck from a company that you just show up to work, clock in, clock out, and then you collect this great big paycheck. It is not, because we spend money to make money in this type of industry. So what I want next is I want it to give me like basically like everything about 1099. Like I don't know like the proper word, but like what does 1099 have to like have, like their vehicle, this and that. Like I wanted to list everything. Yeah, well, maybe that's not gonna write it correctly. Let's see. Um, I don't know why I can't spell this right here. Responsibilities. Okay. So a lot of this stuff I'm not gonna get into. Uh, Guys, I just don't know how to word it correctly. So, a 1099 business often means a business that hires independent contractors to perform specific tasks to protect. Okay, so let's see. Let's just do this. Okay, let's see. Independence, see, shows up for that. So, independence contractors have a high degree of independence and control over how they perform their work. They typically determine their own work hours, methods, and tools. Let's see what this is going to give me. Okay, I think this is what I was looking for. See, I wanted to give me a little bit more input. What's a 1099 so that you guys can know it and I could know it a little bit more, just to see if Uber's like really screwing us over. Like they're treating us like not 1099s. Guys, I'll tell you what. Certainly, okay. Work hours. Independent contractors have the flexibility to set their own work hours. They are not bound by the traditional 9 to 5 schedule that many employees adhere to. Instead, they can choose when to work, when they work, which allows for a more adaptable work life balance. For example, a freelancer graphic designer might prefer to work late into the evening, while a consultant might prefer to work during non traditional hours to accommodate international clients. Methods and approaches. Independent contractors uh, have control over the methods and approaches that they use to complete their work. They are not constrained by specific procedures or protocols that employees may need to follow. You see, guys, follow with a company. They are not constrained by specific procedures and protocols that employees may need to follow within a company, which is what Uber and Lyft is doing. Like they are making us follow that. Like it is their thing. Like we're definitely employees in their book. Like we have to follow their procedures. We and their protocols, like whatever that they come up with. Can you believe that? Like we don't have to follow that. This flexibility can lead to innovation and creative problem solving, as contractors can choose the most effective and efficient way to achieve their client goals. Okay, I wanted to see this. Tools and equipment. Independent contractors are typically responsible for providing their own tools, like your car, equipment, and resources needed to perform their work. For instance, a freelance web developer would use their own computer and software licenses, like we're using our phones to do Uber's bidding, basically, while an independent construction contractor would bring their own tools and machinery to a job site. This independence means contractors can use tools that they are comfortable with and what are tailored to their specific needs. Like a car. I am comfortable with driving, let's say, like a 2007 BMW that they no longer allow you to technically work in. Or maybe I'm comfortable with working in a 2000 the Toyota Prius, right? I don't even know if they made one in 2000, but let's just say, for instance, maybe I want to use the year 2000 Toyota Prius. I'm comfortable with that. That is my tool. No, sir, you can't use that for Uber. That's too old. It's got to be 2008. And now they're going further by now saying that we'll have to have like newer vehicles, whatever that's supposed to mean. So, for the future. So it's just like more and more we are losing our freedoms when it comes to being independent contractors, when it comes working for Uber. And I think it's enough is enough. Like somebody really needs to step up and basically have some kind of class action lawsuit with these companies to basically explain to them, like, look, you can't have it both ways. You can't basically have contractors and treat them like employees. You can't have it both ways. It's like choose one or the other. If you want employees to come work for you and use your Uber vehicles from Hertz, let's say, do not, of course, make your employees pay for those Ubers, and then pay them a fair wage. Like, for instance, I rented from Hertz an Uber vehicle. I've worked 48 hours, and I was only making after the 48 hours in a week, guys, which means I actually did not even get any overtime, right? But that's considered quite low. Like, wow, you only worked 48 hours? Why not 60 to 80 hours? Because that's not going to pay for your Tesla, right? Wrong. So if they're going to treat me like an employee, I'm now renting a vehicle, basically, then I'm kind of like an employee, right? So I'm working for 48 hours and only was averaging $12.75 per hour. That's it. That's all I average. Like throughout the whole 7 days, because I worked for 7 days, not even a day off to complete 48 hours. And I think that is like some bull, if you know what I mean. Plus, I did not get any benefits out of it. No 401k, no healthcare, like nothing. Nothing. So supposedly I have like a choice in how long I work, but the only choice I would have is to work a longer hours so you could actually make more money. So it makes more sense to rent a Tesla, right? So I was basically doing something that employees would have, like, so kind of like I got rid of my responsibility in having my own vehicle, right? So that just goes to show you. So if you do that, and by the way, a Tesla doesn't rent cheaper than a Nissan Altima. It's the same price, just so you know. So same price as a Toyota Prius. So basically, it's not that I try to somehow have a like a best car and pay more money. Like, no, I had the basic Tesla. I was paying the basic price that they offered, like that a regular economy car would have. And working 48 hours, I think that's enough. I have a family. I got a wife. I got 3 kids. Like 48 hours, I should have been good. Instead, I'm making 12.75 per hour. No benefits. On top of that, I gotta go get like, let's say, like health insurance and stuff like that. Like, and I'm supposed to somehow by myself provide for my family out of that income. That is nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. You know. But anyways, we're not gonna get into what would happen if I use my car. But I like to create this little test that, everybody can look at and they could say, well, I don't have a car. What should I do? Or my car broke down. Now I'm home and I'm not working. Well, you could always rent a car and you could continue working, but at what cost, right? But ultimately, I do want to say one last thing when it comes to car expenses, guys, because I know you like to tell me, of course, get a used car, right? Which is smart. Get a used car. And this is what I tell you guys as well. But a lot of you guys write that in the comments to me anyways. Maybe you guys are new to the channel then. In that case, welcome. But basically, it's true. Get a nice economy. I mean, get a used car. Doesn't have to be nice. The year has to pass, unfortunately. It needs to be like 2008 or greater, or newer, I guess. And you need to buy that car. Hopefully, you're not financing that car. Hopefully, you're just basically buying it outright and it's cash and you own it. But then you'll have to make your money back by working. But, anyways, the vehicle I used previously, which previously I was using a Range Rover and I was using a BMW 5 Series. So, Range Rover is a little bit more fuel efficient than my BMW 5 Series. But let me tell you this. I was paying anywhere from $75 to $90 per day in fuel to fuel, basically kind of like a gas guzzler. It's a 15.8 miles per gallon for my Range Rover. On top of that, there's other expenses. So you might be wondering, why are you renting? Well, that particular vehicle was costing me anywhere from 75 to 90 per day. So it was actually costing me the same or more money than a rental. So with the rental, at least I know what the cost of the rental is. I do not have to have the burden of its maintenance. So when I'm using my own personal car, so I'm only looking at like one factor. I'm thinking of like I'm talking about if you compare only one factor, like just fuel alone. You know, when you have your own car, it's not just fuel. And I tried to explain this earlier. It is all of these other expenses like depreciation, maintenance, and upkeep, and car insurance and car taxes. Like there's all of these different things. So the only advantage to having your own car is that you can choose when not to work. So therefore, if you decide not to work that day, you're not losing that 70 or more dollars per day because you're not working, because you're not fueling that car that day. So you're not putting any miles on it. So your car technically is, it's not costing you any money. But when you're renting, you lose that freedom. You have no choice but to work. And hopefully, if you would have just worked 40 hours, that would have been enough. But even when I worked 48 hours, that's just not enough. I literally would need to work 65 to 80 hours in order for it to make sense. In that case, I would make almost double, and then maybe I would not be making 12.75 an hour because, no, I'd still, oh my gosh, I still would be making 12.75 an hour. Who am I kidding? But what I am saying though is that I just would put in more hours to get the same wage of 12.75 an hour. Um, yeah, actually, with the rental, yeah, like okay. What I was thinking in my mind, I would not get paid any more by working longer hours. That is, if I'll be using my own car, because it just will continuously cost you more money in fuel, plus obviously maintenance and everything else. But when it comes to the rental, if you work longer hours, that kind of changes because, especially in a Tesla, because the charging is so cheap, you just kind of like only worrying about the actual rental itself, which is like 69 bucks, almost 70. So I would say 70 per day. That's with optional insurance. Always get the insurance, by the way. So the charging was costing me just for the regular day, like regular, like if I charge like one time in a daytime, which would be the most amount of money that I would have to pay for charge, anywhere from $13 to $15. But since I have a home charger, I'll leave in a full charge and just need to charge one time, and then basically that would cost me an additional $15. But if I worked at night, it would only cost me $5. So it costs like three times cheaper. So yeah, if I were to work longer hours in a rental, then yeah, I would be doing a lot better, because technically, that car that I would be renting, I'm not worried about its maintenance, like nothing. Like that would be the beauty. So that would be the only way to really work longer hours. But if you work longer hours in your vehicle, it's going to continue costing you all that fuel, unless you have a Prius or like a four-cylinder car that's really, really fuel efficient, in the lines of uh, like of a Tesla. But then, you know, if you compare like a regular 40-hour week of like versus a Prius, probably the cost is going to be like very similar. But if you're going to continue working longer hours, let's say like 80 hours, then a Prius is going to cost you more money than a Tesla. And you might be wondering, well, how? Because if you're in a rental, like, I mean, even if you're not in a rental, if you're making a payment on it, it's actually going to cost you even less. But if you're in a rental, it's easier to really figure out this stuff, because a rental is set at $70. So the charge is cheap. So if you work like a maniac, and put all these miles on it and basically sleep in a car, because you would have to. Hopefully, maybe you live close enough to your home and in that area, and you could just basically get some sleep. Then yeah, you would end up making some money, ultimately. But you're still limited to 12 hours per day working. Then you need to take 6 hours off. So if you want to take 6 hours off and come back in 6 hours, then yeah, you could work as much as possible when it comes to that. Unless you're using multiple apps, then I mean, if you're a robot, you could just clock out from one app, get into another one, and just keep doing it. I'm sure some people have done it. But anyways, um, client choice. Independent contractors have the autonomy to select their clients and projects. So we should be able to select what rides we want, what rides we don't want, what clients we want to cancel, and it should not only be due to safety. Maybe we accepted a trip by accident and we're looking at it like, well, I'm not making any money on this trip. I'm canceling. You know, how do you should know the safety right away? Maybe you don't like the rating, or maybe you had a bad experience with that person before that you think it's not a safe situation. But yeah, like we should be able to have choices. So they can decide which clients to work with, yeah, which riders to take, which projects to take on, and which industries or niches they want to specialize in. This freedom allows them to align their work with their interest and expertise. Location independence. Many independent contractors can choose whether they work. This means working from home, office, a co working space, or even remotely from anywhere in the world. Location independence is especially common in fields like freelance, writing, digital marketing, and web development. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, we could work all over with Uber. Nope, you can't. First of all, they're not going to let you work not in your state, right? But when it came to me, I live in South Carolina, 40 miles from Columbia, basically 40 miles from Charlotte. So I was in Charlotte, took somebody from the airport to Columbia. Guess what? Uber was not letting me take any more rides in Columbia. And I live 40 miles away. I live in South Carolina. I have South Carolina tags. And I have an inspection on my vehicle that allows me to work in North Carolina. So, yeah, South Carolina does not have inspection, so they make us get an inspection if you want to work in North Carolina. But since my area is Charlotte, that's what Uber decided. But all of a sudden, oh yeah, so I only could work in Charlotte technically. Uh, but they choose to give me a route that goes to Columbia where they know they're not even going to give me like any rides to Charlotte from that area because the only thing you could do is food delivery. That's the only thing that's on. I went there. I know, guys, this is not a joke. Serious. I literally thought something was wrong with my app when I took somebody to Colombia because I was like thinking like, okay, let me just take him there because I could always come back or maybe whatever. But I came there. I was like surprised. Lyft, however, did allow me to log in, and I worked in Colombia in Lyft. Um, but that was back then. So location dependence. Okay, so financial control. Independent contractors have control over their financial affairs. They are responsible for setting their rates, negotiating contractors, and managing their own invoices and payments. This financial autonomy allows them to determine their earnings potential and financial strategy. Exactly. We should be able to negotiate the price that comes in. Like, for instance, it should be more like maybe like auction type of based. So a job gets displayed on your app. Hey, would you take this $20 ride? It's going 20 miles. Maybe there's like a little plus sign or a minus sign. Hopefully, using a plus sign. And you mark it up like an extra $5. Okay, I'll take it for an extra five. And the rider then maybe accepts or denies, or Uber already has collected enough money for that ride. Maybe they got 40. So now they're gonna basically pay you 20 and they were gonna keep 20 for themselves, which happens a lot, by the way, guys. You would think it's 50-50, but usually Uber is taking 60 to 70% or even higher for themselves and leaving us with about 30 to 40% from the actual ride. And it varies from client to client. But that does happen. So in that case, when a ride gets displayed, if Uber's taking 40 for that ride, then you want 25, then you should give it 25, because they're not doing a damn thing. Their app is not depreciating. Their app, they don't need to do nothing else. They have a bunch of software developers. Not like, basically, if we had to pay for all their software developers, like from all the millions of drivers that they have, like it would be pennies for us to basically pay for all the software developers and whatever fixes that they have to do to their apps. But I think instead of them working in the favor of drivers and coming up with better ways that drivers could earn more money, developers are working for ways to make Uber richer and make them more profitable. That's all that they're doing. So we are paying for that, obviously. We're paying for these developers to develop the app to make more money for Uber CEOs and $70 million commissions than the money that's going into drivers' pockets. They don't care about the driver. They have a big turnover. And guys, I've noticed a trend. According to all the channels that I watch on rideshare, lots of drivers have been recently deactivated, and some of them have YouTube channels like me. And they've been getting deactivated, whether from Uber, Lyft, or DoorDash. And these are older type of drivers that I'm not talking about age here. I'm talking about how long you've been working with the company. So if you've been working 2 years or more, maybe like 1 year even, you're a lot smarter now and you decide to decline all of these different rides that don't make no sense. Well, they're going to get rid of you. And I've been declining a lot for Lyft. I've been declining even more for Uber. I'm surprised I'm still working for Uber. But basically, they will find a way to get rid of you, to deactivate your account, because you're just too smart for them, and they need a new sucker to get in there and just start accepting whatever, until they learn and they leave. It's already a big turnover as it is, but yeah, they don't like the older drivers. They just don't. You could have the best rating in the world. You could have done like 5,000, 15,000 trips. They don't care. Like they really don't value you. Like if you think about like all that money that you made for them with those trips, it's mind-boggling. But they don't care. They do not care. So okay. So I already talked about this. No supervision. Independent contractors are not subject to direct supervision by their clients in the same way that employees are. Clients specify the project goals and requirements, but they generally do not dictate how the contractor should um, complete. Okay, I've been moving my phone around. That's why I lost track. How the contractor should complete their work. The lack of micromanagement can be appealing to those who value autonomy in their work. Yes, sir. I value my autonomy, and basically, I don't want micromanagement, which Lyft has been basically watching how you drive. They have this score that shows like how well you're driving. I don't know if Uber has that. I've never seen it. Maybe like I don't have it, right? But I think they are monitoring in the background. How are you driving? How are you braking? How are you turning? How are you accelerating? I think they are monitoring that, which goes against the contract with the contractors. They should not be doing that. We're not employees. It's like stop micromanagement. Same thing Amazon is doing to their flex delivery drivers. They are micromanaging them. They have these dash cams that are looking at the driver and they're grading them on how well they work. It's kind of like, what are we in communist China? That they have to give you like a social credit score now for work and determine or like whether or not they should keep you or remove you. This is getting out of control, and somebody needs to put a stop to that. In summary, the independence of independent contractors is fundamental aspect of their work relationship. It grants them freedom to work on their terms, tailor their own methods to their preferences and make decisions that align with their professional goals and lifestyle. This flexibility can be a significant draw for individuals seeking greater control over their careers and work life balance. So, I want to get back to no supervision. So, independent contractors are not subject to direct supervision by their clients in the same way that employees are. Now, this is a big one because they're trying to like supervise us. They're trying to tell us like what to do. Oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. You should be doing this instead. Like, no, you're basically like Uber or Lyft. Like we are they're basically our clients. They are our client, and we should tell them what we want to get, what we want to make. So this client brings us riders, which are essentially the work that we provide. We provide a service by taking these riders. And we should then tell our client, Uber or Lyft, that in order for us to provide this service, this is how much we're going to charge. And this is how we're going to do it. And you better not micromanage us. Like some of the stuff needs to change, guys. I think this is a huge problem, and lawmakers, they need to step in, government agencies, and they need to take a look at what these huge corporations are doing. Like literally, they're making a monopoly on all this, and this is not just bad for Uber drivers. Think about taxi drivers. Taxi drivers are getting ready to lose big because right now, supposedly, taxi drivers could actually get higher pay than what Uber wants. So that means why not then offer us higher pay as Uber drivers? Like we are not employees, we're independent contractors. So now they're willing to pay the taxi companies like more money. But essentially, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get taxi drivers to work for Uber instead of whoever provides them work to then drive their competitors out of business. And then essentially taxi drivers would not have a normal means of getting jobs because those companies are going to be making even less money, and then Uber's going to take over. Like the taxi driver will have no choice but to then work for Uber, and then guess what, the prices for taxi fares will also drop just like they have for Uber and Lyft drivers. In the past, when people worked for Uber and Lyft, they were paying like I think like 80% of the actual fare to the driver. Well, not anymore. Now it's 20, 30, 40%, you name it. It's all over the map. Sometimes it's 50%. But now that they're not giving us the ability to see what the actual rider is paying, which goes against contractor laws. Like contractor cannot even see what the rider is paying. He cannot even see that. Like like what the heck? So, anyways, guys, I don't even know how long this video is. I hope you guys like the style video. It's a little bit more informative. I don't know the right word for it. I try to basically share with you guys all the necessities of doing this type of business in a way that you probably thought about it before, but you probably needed somebody's view. And this is why I used ChatGPT, because it provides very true and upfront information. That way, there's no mistaking that this is how it should be. So if you like this video, please give it a big like, comment, and description. What can we do about this? What you guys think about this? Like all of these different things. And if you like this podcast style video, let me know. If you want to hear any other topics that we can basically do here, because I could also use ChatGPT and I could basically ask those same questions that you're itching to know. I'm sure you could look it up the same way. But maybe you want my input on it. I don't know. But I'm an entrepreneur. I think like an entrepreneur. Before I go, I will tell you guys I'm taking a break right now from driving for Uber. The only thing I will use Uber for now is when I'm like really, really tired and I need to just relax and I'm managing my other businesses while I'm working. And that means like I'll put myself, I'm not going to be driving out. Of course, I'll clock out and manage my business that way. What business is that? Well, I have many different ones that I'm working on. Obviously, YouTube is one of them, but uh, it's selling parts on eBay. Yeah, that is a big one. So today, um, I just want to share with you guys something really quick, uh, which is right here. So this is what I've been working on, guys. So today, finally got the shelves up. I built all these shelves today because finally I got some time and I've built them. So this is kind of like my one of two eBay storage spaces. So this is the size of a storage unit. Well, the shelf is like 8 feet long, so that's about like 16 feet. And this is more than, or maybe it's about 20 on the inside. Could be 25 over here. But I could always expand this. Um, that is that. Yeah, and basically I plan to build another one like this in days. And these shelves are specifically designed to fit these extra large boxes. And then, of course, the top shelf is designed to fit like things like headlights and things of that nature. But I could stack a lot of boxes. So I bought like $300 worth of boxes, um, thousands of dollars in wood. And basically, that's what I'm doing. It's not pretty. It's not meant to be pretty. It's kind of like this is going to be my place where I take pictures right there. I'm going to be building the table. So if you guys want an update on this type of situation, like let me know. But even though I have a main channel with over 30,000 subscribers and 8 million views, I will be building a whole new channel around eBay sales and Amazon because I'm going to be doing both versions of Amazon and Amazon FBA because I would like to make more money, obviously. So once I get this stuff set up and I'm going to take pictures of the parts that I want to sell, like a bunch of pictures, I'm going to basically document everything because everything's going to be like organized. The shelves are going to have like numbers and letters and whatnot. I will then be able to make listings while I'm working. I'll make some listings and then maybe like, because I could make listings very fast now. I could make a listing in under 2 minutes. So I would then make a listing of a specific part that I'm selling, sometimes while waiting for a client. I've done that before. So I pull up to the client's house, immediately start making a listing, and then I wait for them. Now, if they're running late, I don't care. I'll just continue making more listings. And this is something you guys are not noticing me that I'm doing in the background. But I think even though I've been having this business already for years, um, things are slowly selling. And in the beginning, they were selling quite fast. I was making lots of money. But then I started working for Uber and Lyft. And I started making even less. Well, I started making more money, like, right, initially. But I don't make good money anymore. Um, it could only be used now for me as a means to relax while I'm basically, because this stuff is like labor intensive. Like right now, guys, you're not gonna believe, but my body's aching and hurting because that's a lot. That's a lot of work. This stuff is extremely heavy. It doesn't look like much work, but trust me, guys, it's a lot of work. And if you look, every shelf is basically built very strong, and they're heavy. Like they're heavy. I don't even know how much they weigh. Um, but anyways, with all this being said, guys, I wish you guys come up with some kind of business that you could do on your own as well. But I have a few other ones that I'm working on. So the reason I bought so many cars, like I have like 34 cars right now, is because I buy and fix some for myself. Then I buy some cars that I fix to sell. And I've been buying parts for those cars while I was working for Uber. This is something that you guys maybe heard me say, but like as I'm working and making money, like I'm basically buying parts. So I'm just investing money for that. Um, and I also have residual income coming in. Like if I didn't have none of these residual income streams, I would be struggling with this uh, embarrassingly low wages that I've been getting from Uber. Like it's just been really bad. I used to make really good, but now it's like really bad. It's just terrible right now. And I'm like using like a very good car, like a Tesla, comfort. Comfort's paying less than $1. Like who would have thought? Like wow, comfort really? I used to make like $2 for like Uber X per mile or more. But anyways, with this being said, some of my cars are parts cars. Some of the cars are meant to fix, and also I'm gonna be building my own shop. But I would like to use some of the income from this eBay business to then build a shop, because I'm really good at basically fixing Mercedes uh, Sprinters. Um, I just wanna show you guys something very very quickly. So let's go to my channel. This is my main channel here, Zimmaleta Motors and Sprinter How To Show. Um, this channel has tons of videos. I'm basically showing you how to fix stuff. So everything is on my property, what you guys are looking at. So the reason I'm showing you this, so you could kind of get an idea of kind of like what I do and what I'm doing. So I'm a mechanic and also an entrepreneur. And when people come to me, I charge $100 per labor hour, and I charge like $150 just like a standard diagnostics fee to diagnose vehicles problems. And I have many customers that they want me to fix their vehicles, and I kind of put a stop to that when I started working for basically Uber and Lyft, because I just didn't have enough time to do this, because I was like just working like crazy, obviously. And now I'm getting back to my roots. I'm now basically starting to get back to this. So what eBay needs to be is a cash flow thing for me, and same thing for like Amazon FBA. That's going to be my cash flow. I could also use Uber to my advantage by just getting around the city without having to pay for fuel, and just buying things to resell. That is the goal. And you can see I got tons of videos, and some of these vehicles are clients' vehicles. And then also I would like to work on some car projects, stuff that I want to do for myself. And you might be wondering, how am I staying positive through all this, like with like little wages? That's because I work extremely hard, guys. If I'm not working on Uber, I'm working on my own business. And even while working on Uber, I'm basically still working on my business. I know I never showed you guys my channel before, and I'm going through this stuff kind of quickly. But you get an idea, guys. I mess with a lot of cars. And this channel actually makes me enough money to buy a Tesla. And I'm choosing not to buy a Tesla right now. Maybe my decision will change, but I just hate being a slave. And I might just buy a Tesla from a car auction and just fix it and then use it like that. There's a little Jason helping me remove some parts. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for